From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big midday here on LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In this home recording direct from Santa Monica, California, either on home or home stream stimulus at 7 o'clock, we go over the incredible great news about the CR for stimulus 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0, heating up with breaking news today on how to get those checks out the door. Then we'll be going over the Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon that has $60,000 of checks in there, and the MSC that would pay you at least many months of checks. Joe Biden says he wants all these checks of the Build Back Better Act to go out right now. He's ready to start paying them right out the door, and the senators say it would be $2,000 starting on month one. I have all the incredible great news about reporting across the board, plus the opportunity of the president to repurpose money. That opportunity is abound. I'll go over the latest details on that, and then how the president could also raise your benefits up if you're on SSI and SSDI, but you know what home is about, and it's about a home, beauty, decor, food, and basting in delicious chocolateness or cookies or cakes. Well, one viewer said, LA, can you make a video about a oatmeal raisin cookie recipe? No, I don't have one. I just eat them. Actually, this I do. And in today's recording, I'm going to go over how to make sugar-free oatmeal raisin cookies. Also, I'll get you some money. See at the very end, it's all come up in today's recording. Oatmeal raisin cookies, and Joe Biden sending out checks. All the incredible deliciousness. Some sugar-free, some less sugary. It's all coming up in today's recording. I'm excited you're here. It's home LA with all the deliciousness. You just have to have the right ingredients, and often the ingredients do not involve donation. Those ingredients and more heating up on today's show. I'm excited you're here, and the excitement starts right here, right now, as home LA gets underway. Hey, good day, everybody. It is home allied, and the recon passed in the House of Representatives, sent to the Senate, but also sent over is CR for stimulus 1.0, 2.0 that would merge with 3.0. The senators say they're ready to merge them together. This would potentially give you a check, but is Vladimir Putin part of the equation with CR for stimulus 4.0? The latest details on that direct from Santa Monica, California today as well. Then we'll be looking at the opportunities for the president to repurpose sums of money, and that repurposing money could give you additional monies, and we're going to look at the opportunity of SS200 back in the mix on this channel. There's a lot of money, and in the second half of this video, we're going to go over the deliciousness of an oatmeal raisin cookie sugar-free dessert. It's all incredible, but first I want you to become a subscriber. Go into this video and subscribe. You're watching LA, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. I want you to bring us to number 2. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. We're going to go right into the Build Back Better Act. It is the fourth stimulus recon that passed in the House. It is now in the Senate and has lots of checks. I want you to know each of those checks across the board. There's upwards of $50,000 to $60,000 of checks, but it started with the incredible first $15,000 of them, 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. Let's look at them right now. In that first cluster, hazard pay, essential workers got that money in there. Earned income tax credit, 1 more year. Learn about it at irs.gov. $4,000 of Evercare, got it in there. $3,600 for the CTC, child tax credit, 1 more year. $550 check for the Pell Grants, got it in there. Home repairs for low-income community, got it in there. $12,500 for the purchase of electric vehicle, wow, got that in there as well. The first add-on comes from Southern California. Maxine Waters got this incredible provision in there. And what is that provision? It is money for the first purchase of your first home, given from the government to the seller in your name at the time of escrow. Wow, it's huge. Got it in there. And this is, again, money for the purchase of your first home, which tees us up then for the second cluster checks. Here we go. In that second cluster checks, we got in there home repairs and paid leave. Home repairs is to weather your home, but the paid leave is a lot of money, folks. How much money is it? Here we go. It is $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. If you make $35,000 annual salary, $800 a week. If you make $15,000 or annual salary, it's $400 a week. How many weeks? 4 to 6 weeks per year. W-2, 1099, you all get the money. Now, if you don't work, but your son or daughter does work and they have to take off from work to take you to the doctor, they're going to get the check across the board. W-2, 1099, this is all incredible. And there you go. That is cluster number 2, which tees us up for the second add-on of checks. If you're in the live chat and you remember the amount, it's the free home health care. Write the amount right now. Oh, someone just wrote it. And what is it? $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. It got in there via Bob Casey. Again, that's a little bit less than $250 billion for free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. We're still in the fourth stimulus recon of the Build Back Better Act. Let's turn to the third of 3 clusters. Free internet got in there. Checks for seniors. Then checks for farmers, checks for independent contractors, checks for nutrition, $65 per month when you're not in school. And then the seniors, 2 checks on the House, other checks coming on the Senate side. On the House side, they got the Medicaid gap fix and the hearing checks. On the Senate side, they vow to add in their dental checks, vision checks, and then also lowering the eligibility age of Medicare checks across the board, which is par for the course when we're talking about adding in other checks. They would come in on the Senate side. And what are those checks that start with an M in there? If you're on the live chat right now, I think you know what they are. Oh, someone wrote it. MSC. Multiple or monthly IRS stimulus check. Let's go over what it is, how you get it, how much it is, when you get it, and how it works. First, what is an MSC? MSC refers to monthly IRS stimulus check, where the checks come out from IRS to you. It's one of many checks that will be added to this recon that already has $65,000 of checks, multiple checks in there. What's different with this is it comes from IRS. So who gets it? The senators represent to tens of thousands of viewers this channel that the eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check. So let's recap third. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it if that's your annual income. Married couple, $150,000 less annual income, then you get it, double it. Family of 4, you get it, quadruple it. If you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, rural benefits, you get it as well. Adult dependents would also get it. It is not income, it's not taxable. It comes out nationwide across the board, and it is going off of the most recent tax return. So if that tax return had a direct deposit in there, that's where it would land, otherwise in the mail. How much? $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter is how it would pay, says those legislators to viewers of this channel. And Joe Biden made it very clear in recent comments, he's ready to send out all the checks of the Build Back Better Act as soon as possible. He is ready. And they're starting to say that the first check would be $2,000. On Afternoons LALATE, I'll detail a little bit more about how they add in MSC and all those equations. And also, I'll explain to you what CR for stimulus is. But if you're a long-standing viewer, you have watched CR for stimulus pay you a check in December of 2020. Well, CR for stimulus 1, 2, 3, and 4.0 are heating up. And what is the latest update on each of them right now? I got the news for you right now. CR for stimulus 1.0, the latest update is that the legislation at issue has a deadline just a few days away, late February. Continuing budget bill, and the opportunity to insert a check in there is at hand. The legislators in the Senate are trying to agree upon the top line number, and that's Chuck Schumer and also another Democrat. Those 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, including Mitch, need to agree upon the top line number. If they do, then we get it done this month. And so that's why you want to advocate to those two senators that are Democrats featured tonight on 80s LA. Watch that show. You want to advocate, one, that they get it done in the month of February, and two, they insert that check. But more importantly, lean upon the history of CR for stimulus. CR for stimulus 2020 was passed in December, put in there because millions of Americans needed it, and also there was a Georgia Senate race just a few days after that. Well, we have the midterm elections just a few weeks out from where we are right now. And Democrats and Republicans are working hand in hand to try to get you money to win seats or retain seats. So suddenly bipartisanship is appearing because they want to get seats by giving you money. So advocate for the inclusion in that CR for Stimulus 1.0. What is the update on CR for Stimulus 2 and 3? Well, that comes from the House, too. CR for Stimulus 2.0 came from the House, and it came about a week ago. And those House members said, you know what, we like the Build Back Better Act. We like and support it, but we need other pieces, plural, pieces of legislation passed. And they need to be economic recovery legislation. So they wanted to go out, and they got the first one passed 24 hours later. It's now in the Senate. It's CR for Stimulus 2.0. The concept is that the Build Back Better Act has social reform in there, like dental, vision, but we also need economic assistance to deal with inflation, price of goods, and similar. As soon as it was passed in the House and landed in the Senate, guess what the Senate Republicans said? They said, we're working on our pieces of legislation, and we're ready to merge them across the board. Why so much bipartisanship out of nowhere? Again, this is a new version of Seats for Stimulus. Legislators are very opportunistic. They want to give you money when their jobs are at stake. And now they see the midterm elections around, and the way people are going to win the midterm elections is passing economic reform. It's a different era now, and people are not going to vote for a legislator or a potential legislator based upon a promise or based upon whining about the economy. They need to see that you've done something. That's why Republicans and Democrats are starting to quickly try to pass economic reform to deal with inflation, to deal with the economy, to deal with price of goods and gasoline, which gives us then CR for Stimulus 4.0. Is Vladimir Putin trying to give you a stimulus check? Not directly, but maybe indirectly. What's at issue here is that the fourth opportunity is a Russian sanction bill. Russia has been the topic of the channel for now no less than 3 months. It may even be almost 4 months. Mid to late last year, I said the biggest event of 2022 that you're going to watch that's going to impact your wallet is Russia potentially invading Ukraine. And this week, that event is expected to happen. Russia is expected to go right into Ukraine, and that will cause turmoil in financial markets. But it also impacts a potential stimulus check. Why? Because of the fourth opportunity, again, is another small bill, bipartisan support, inherent deadline. It's a Russian sanction bill starting in the Senate. Bob Menendez, Democrat, Marco Rubio, Republican, working hand in hand to get it done. And they need to get it done before the invasion occurs, not after the invasion occurs. So it was supposed to be passed last week. It may get passed earlier this week because guess what? The invasion is just imminent, says several sources. So this is the fourth opportunity. Now, the President of the United States, turning quickly, has other opportunities to give you money. And the first one is repurposing existing funds. The president can repurpose existing funds to get those funds out to you. It was done by Donald Trump one time, but Trump had two opportunities. What was at issue? Trump knew that millions of Americans need additional weeks of FPUC, that add-on that went on top of UI and PUA at $600 a week. But he didn't want to go back to Congress, so Trump looked high and low to find the money. He found it in FEMA. And he told FEMA, repurpose it and send it out. And they did. LWA was birthed. Donald Trump had another opportunity, but he passed it up. There was $550 billion seated at SBA at the time that could have been repurposed as two stimulus checks. That would have been about $5,000 of stimulus checks. He could have repurposed and sent the money out. What happened? The money was never used. It was returned. Now Joe Biden has that opportunity to repurpose the money as well. If you can find money to be repurposed, send me a private message on air, and I will feature it in the advocacy of this channel. Meantime, Joe Biden has another opportunity. This one is really right there. It is SS200. SS200 manifests itself in January 2020 when Liz Warren and other Democrats were running for President of the United States. And Liz Warren promised $200 a month on top of your existing benefits. 6 to 12 months, about $1,200 one time. She withdrew from her run for president even after Wyden and Schumer endorsed this policy. But Joe Biden said, you know what? I'm going to do better. I'm going to make this part of my campaign promises. And he did. He put in his campaign promises. He won the election. And then in his transition papers, Joe Biden at joebiden.com, and still live, you can go read it, said he's going to give you $200 a month on top of your existing benefits. Well, he still can. And this is a new entree into SS200, never featured before until you saw it on this channel. The Democrats were trying to do this by fiscal recon. They still can because a lot of it has to be done by recon. But the benefits of SS200 giving you additional $200 a month, I can show you how you can do it right today, lifetime, not just 12 or 6 months. It is by picking up the phone and contacting the social administrator, saying we're replacing COLA and using inflation as the new benchmark. If you use inflation as your new benchmark, your benefits will go up 2% overnight, at least to start for this year. And that will be an average of about $200 more per month than what you're getting right now. And that will be more than Liz Warren's promise of 6 to 12 months. That will be lifetime. And that is just for this year. If inflation comes in 2 to 3% next year as well, you're going to go up more across the board. Learn more about how that works. Learn more about the checks and all those incredible checks on Afternoons LA, coming up right after this video. On Afternoons LA, we're going to go over every check of the Build Back Better Act that pays you about $60,000. Then we're going to go over CR for stimulus 1, 2, 3, and 4.0 more in detail. We're going to go over SS200 and how this works, how you would get the money, and how the president can repurpose money. Plus, we're going to go over all the incredible provisions you need to know that pays you money right today. Third stimulus is still paying out, and viewers are getting $10,000 to $20,000. You want to get that third stimulus money because, boy, it's a lot. It is rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. If you remember this channel, open that newsletter up when you get it Monday through Friday. But the great news is that it's still paying out, and these are sums of money that people are getting across the board back in October. Now they're getting a lot more. They're getting $40,000. They're getting utility assistance because of COVID. They're getting SNAP, $25,000 a year. John's brother-in-law is getting that over 10 years is $250,000. And they're getting combo items. Mark is getting 3 at now more than 50,000. Now he's over 100,000. Lorraine, she's at 120. But in the second half of this video, we deliver the goods, the cookie goods. Oatmeal raisin sugar-free cookies. A request by one viewer, and it's on this show. In recent shows, we've covered other type of cooking opportunities. And after I made a recording about a sugar-free chocolate cake, which has been a very big hit on this channel, sugar-free chocolate cake recipe. I delivered it on air, showed you how to go through it. If you missed that show, it's in the archives. Today, per one viewer's request, Sandy, you're going to learn how to do sugar-free oatmeal raisin cookies. If you watch that show and this show together, you're going to start to deliver a repertoire of how your baking needs can be modified very quickly to go to something very similar along the whole lines. How do you do it? It's coming up after the commercial break. Sugar-free oatmeal raisin cookies and how to modify it to bring it to a scone or do other cookies. All that deliciousness is coming up in the second half of this video. As home stream stimulus continues, boy, we got a lot of deliciousness coming up in the second half. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as Home LALATE continues direct from Santa Monica, California. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well.
Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now as LALATE goes into the second half with the deliciousness. Senate changes could be coming to this recon and the CR for stimulus 2 and 3.0. More details about that coming up on the 1 o'clock afternoon show or the evening's LALATE show coming up right after this recording. But now, if you're joining in, you're ready on time for sugar-free oatmeal raisin cookies. All that deliciousness and how to find that deliciousness heats up the second half, and it comes in right now. When you're doing a sugar-free oatmeal raisin cookie, again, you have to start with the certain key ingredients that absolutely have to work, and from there, you can broaden it out across the board. How does it work and what do you need to do? I'm going to go over all those incredible details starting right now. All right. When doing an oatmeal raisin cookie, the key ingredients are the raisins and the oatmeals. What type of oatmeal do I want? I want the Quaker Oats, 100% pure oats. So if you go to the supermarket or you're on your online retail like Amazon or Walmart, you'll see that round container says oatmeal, Quaker Oats, pure oats. That's what you want to use, pure oats. You don't want to use anything but that. So that's what you want to use for your oats. Then for your raisins, you really want to get the right raisins. And these are the raisins I would go with also. These are Sun-Made golden raisins. Again, I'm not being paid to endorse any of these products. These are Sun-Made golden raisins. They are absolutely incredible. You want to really get the right oats and the right raisins, and from there you can build out. What do I mean by build out? You can see in this video, I'm going to show you the skill set where you start and then you build out from the product. All right. Is the whole batter going to be just oats? No. So then into the batter, you're going to be growing it out from a consistency. All right, so let's start with our ingredient list and our dries. In your mixing bowl, you want to start with your oats and your flour. So, again, Quaker Oats, I would use about 2 cups of Quaker Oats. Then I'd use about 3 cups, could do a little bit more, I'll explain to you why in a second, of your flour. I prefer a enriched white flour. Keep it very simple. Enriched white flour is generally on the sweeter side. You can do a semolina. I'm going to show you in a second why semolina may work. I would try to stay away from a whole wheat flour, a little bit too bitter, too earthy, too much. And again, stay away from any of your sugaries. We're starting with a pure sugar-free recipe. All right, that is our dries to starts, the oats and the flour. All right, now time to add in the raisins. So the raisins, you may want to do about a cup of raisins. Now, you want the raisins to overwhelm the mixture. So you should see an enormous amount of raisins. It should be at least 70 to 80% of the mixture should be raisins. So that if I grab in my hand one potential cookie to roll out, I should see it smothered with raisins. That is important. Why? We aren't working with sugar here, folks. There's no sugar in this recipe. The sweetness is going to come from the Sun-Made golden raisins. This is where the key sweetness, when you bite in, You say, oh, that's really nice. It's the raisin that's going to do it. Don't be measly on the raisins. So that is our dries. What else? Here is where you can take it different directions. And this is what we did also on our chocolate cake recipe. If you like nuts in your oatmeal raisin cookies, you can add some nuts. Again, stay away from the bitter nuts because oatmeal oats are generally on the bitter side or on the bland side. They're not inherently sweet. So don't take it down too dark. Don't bring in if you're going to do a walnut, it may make it too bitter. If you do a peanut, it may make it sweeter. You don't need nuts in an oatmeal raisin cookie mixture. I'm going to explain to you why. Later in this video, I'm going to show you how this oatmeal raisin cookie can also be an oatmeal raisin scone. Scone is much more earthy. And as an earthy item, you may like nuts in it. It's just a much more overwhelmingly cohesive item. So you may want the nuts in there. All right, let's continue with our dries. You want a lot of baking powder. So you probably want 2 tablespoons of a baking powder. And then salt. You don't need salt. Don't want it. Don't have to put it in there. But if you want salt, you want about 1 tablespoon of salt. And there you go. Mix it really good. Those are your dries. Okay, now, when we did the chocolate cake recipe, remember for our liquids, our chocolate cake recipe relied upon water and maybe some add-on you wanted to add, and olive oil. Those were our liquids. In the case of the cookie, this is a little bit different, and it's certainly different if it's a scone. In the case of the cookie, we don't have sugar going at a hand, so we don't have sugar to bring out the flavor. We do have the raisins. So where do we bring in the sort of decadence into oats and raisins? Butter. Butter is very critical. Again, it's a sugar-free recipe. So butter is going to be critical to bring this into the buttery mode. So when you bite in, you're going to say, oh, so buttery. And it has a really great flavor of the oats. I see the flavor of the oats, and I taste the raisins. That is the reaction you can have. So you want a good amount of butter in there. You want a really good amount of butter in there, probably about a half a cup. Throw the butter in there, mix it around. Then our vanilla extract. You see a recurring theme. I'm sort of using some of the same sort of ingredients on a recurring basis. Vanilla extract. Here is a Smart Vinyl version. Vanilla extract imitation is what they call it. And I use a lot of it. So maybe 5 tablespoons, 6 tablespoons. It's very liquidy. So I throw a lot in there. The vanilla extract, the butter, and the raisins now starting to work together. So what other liquids am I going to use? Milk. Don't use non-fat milk. Not going to do anything. It has to be, a 2% milk or low fat or a whole milk. If you have that, even better. You got a little bit of cream. Throw a little bit of cream in there. Again, you're trying to bring the decadence in with the butter and the vanilla extract and the raisins because we don't have a lot of other decadence. It's a sugar-free recipe. All right. Mix that around. Now, at that point, can you take this other directions? You absolutely can. So this is an oatmeal raisin cookie. It has to have oats, it has raisins, it has it. You're done. Can you bring it another direction? You can. So you can have other fruits put in here that you think will do it. You can bring it more towards the lemony or the citrusy or the buttery or the nutty direction, depending on which way you want to go. The lemon direction works because sometimes you may go in the lemon direction even though it's not there's nothing lemony about the cookie. So in Southern California, a lot of the ethnic markets have something like this, which is lemon juice from extract. This is pure. This is 100% pure. It is just incredible. It's like 99 cents. It's 100% lemon juice, and you put it in there, and boy, it is incredible. Why does lemon juice work? Because it really pops the flavors. Imagine putting lemon juice on top of raisins, or lemon juice on top of butter. Then suddenly it's starting to get more decadent. See how it's sort of formulating? So if you got something like that, do it. Don't be afraid to take chances. In the chocolate cake recipe, which I referred to earlier in this video, I often use coffee. If I have an extra cup, if I have an extra 2 cups of coffee sitting around, I'll throw it in there. I'll throw in the coffee because I want to go to more cocoa-ish. When I throw coffee in an oatmeal raisin cookie batter, I will try anything that I think needs a little bit of savoriness. But if I'm going the citrus route, I'm going to go in the citrus route. So let's say I have an extra orange around the house. I'll squeeze the orange in there for a little bit of orange juice, and then I'll put a little bit of the lemon extract. If I'm going to the nut direction, I'll be careful. If I have some almond paste, I'll throw some almond paste in there to bring it in the almond in the nut direction. And then if I want to bring the olive oil in, I want to be careful on this. Olive oil is different here than in the cake, than the chocolate cake. The chocolate cake is a very gooey solution. So olive oil, a little bit here works, but not a lot. Here is extra virgin olive oil, great brand that I get from Walmart, and it has rich taste. It's really good. There's some olive oils out there, extra virgin olive oils. They're horrible. They're horrible. This is a great brand, very great brand, Bertolli. I like it because it's thick. If you see in the reviews someone saying that the olive oil that you're considering is thin, don't buy it because it doesn't serve any purpose. And there you go. So you start to mix it around. What should be the consistency? This is where we're going to go from cookie to scone and back to cookie. This is a cookie. And so a cookie is not the consistency of a pancake mix, but it's also not the consistency of a loaf. Let's go over the sort of hierarchy because we saw this on the chocolate cake show. The consistency determines which direction you're going in the baking process. If you're doing a cake, it's generally it's quite liquidy. It's not as liquidy as a pancake mix. What's before that? Gooiness, that it's so gooey, it can't get it off your hands. That's cookie. Cookie dough is very, very gooey. You can't get it off of your hands. You're rolling it, you put it there, and you still have more on your hand, and you're still rolling it, still have more. That's cookie dough consistency. So if your cookie dough, after you finish mixing, it's still not gooey enough, it's still not liquidy, add more milk, add a little bit of water. Don't be afraid of water. Water is your friend. Don't add any of our other liquids like butter late in the process. It messes it up. So you need to make it more watery, more milk, more cream, more water. Till you get that gooey mixture, it should be very, very gooey in the hands. Now, don't want it that gooey, or you're looking like, should I do a scone? Scone is a little bit less gooey, more dry. So scone is something you would formulate in your hand, and you could literally, boop, plop it right down the pan. That's a scone. That is a harder, drier consistency than a cookie. So can you use the same recipe for scone? Absolutely. The scone is going to come out tasting different because it's bigger. How do you formulate a scone? So you can take the batter in your hand, and it's in the palm of your hand, and then you go drop it down on the pan. Most pans will probably fit 6, 1, 2, 2 per row, and 3 rows. 1, 2, or I guess you would say 2 columns, 3 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a scone operation. Cookie, if it's gooier and it's very small, then that is how you're going to default to it. How do you formulate it in your hand? So cookie, you're going to do more at the top fingers, less across the entire hand. And you want it small. Yeah, this was a prop earlier in the video, but this is done in a commercial oven. When you do this at home, keep the cookies small. Keep the cookies really small. 3 fingers, the number 1, 2, and 3 fingers. Roll and the thumb. Roll it right here. Put it down. Here's sort of the cap to the camera. You want it smaller than that. Keep it happy at a ball shape. People think they have to flatten everything down. You don't have to flatten anything down. Remember, there's a rising agent in there. So if you formulate in those three hands with a thumb and you drop it down and it's about this big, it will flatten out during the cookie process. Now, this is different than the cake because guess what? You're going to flip them. Yeah, you're going to flip them. The scones especially are going to flip. So preheat the oven. I like to oven preheated a lot. Remember what I taught you from the other the cake show is that there's so many ovens, they're just not consistent on their numbers, different types of climate across the United States. So I like to preheat the oven quite high, like a 500 or 475. You want the rack in the second to lowest rack in the oven, and you don't want anything else in the oven. And in this case, I want the tray to be flat. Now, here again, the tray is going to really impact the output. There's some trays that are manufactured in the last year or two that are nonstick, flat, and they're very cheap when made and economical when purchased. They make really good cookies because they're the heat gets through. If you go to some of the trays made, maybe in the 1980s, the 1990s, they were so well made that the heat does not get through. And so you'll be like, my cookies are sort of raw on the bottom. Those are the type of cake trays that you may be using to do some chicken thighs, bake chicken thighs, and you put them in the oven and it's like, okay, this is just perfect. The chicken thighs are just sort of moist on both sides. Not good for cookie because the cookie will be raw on the bottom side. You want to be able to come in and with your spatula after about 15 minutes, go into the cookie and be able to flip it and say, it's brown, not burnt, it's brown, done. You flip it after 15 minutes and it's like, there's no color to it. It hasn't even gotten golden. What's gone on wrong? The oven has been running at about 475 for about 20 minutes, 450, 475, 20 minutes. And I go in to flip it like LALATE tells me, and it's not even golden. It may be the impact of the tray. All these factors people don't talk about. Again, those trays that are sort of thicker, that are flat from about 10, 15 years ago, they are really well made, but they impede the ability of the airflow for the baking process. So I like these more recent trays, the last 10 years. They're just sort of flimsy and they're cheap and the heat gets in it and cooks the cookie real fast. You flip it, done. Now, so 475, 15 minutes, flip, 475, done. Take it out of the oven. You want both sides golden. I rather have the cookie crisp and moist on the inside. I don't want the cookie raw on either side. And then the scones. Scones are sort of different because guess what's going to happen with the scones? Scone went in as this sort of mixture. Well, the scones are a sort of a harder variable, so they may be in longer because you need them not to be raw in the inside. You don't want them just crispy on the outside and then raw on the inside. So you may add an extra 5 minutes on both sides before the flipping process. And ultimately, remember, if the scones have the additional things you've experimented with, like nuts, they may add to a little bit of crispiness, burnt. Be careful the nuts do not burn on the top side. With that, let me jump in the live chat and see some of the comments that viewers have as well on your cooking process. What type of cookies do you like to do, and what type of baking brings you happiness across the board? Let me jump in the live chat and see some of the cooking that viewers have brought when they consider the cookies at hand. Let's see what some of the comments say right now. Sandy says, I'm late. No, you got in just in time. Georgia says, you have to keep a good eye on cookies not to overbake them or they will be hard. Absolutely. Once cookies are hard, they don't really, they don't approve. You have to stay on top of them. Bob Bacon, oatmeal raisin cookies, ahoy. There you go. Let's see some more of the comments. Do not let the cookie crumble, says Bob. Absolutely. John, canceled out the operations, doing it next week. The cookies will be cooking next week. John is cooking the cookie dough. Teresa says, good afternoon, Allied and family. So she has some emojis, some cookies. Very nice. Let's see some more of the comments in there. I love big cookies, says Sandy. Yeah, some people like the big cookie. The big cookie is harder in the cooking process because if you're going for a bigger cookie and it's flat, you want to make sure it doesn't burn. You want to make sure it doesn't stick because now it's flatter, it's bigger. And then if it's bigger and rounder, then the problem is it may not cook straight through. Let's see some more of the comments. There is Sandy asking John, what happened to your cookies? John says, halfway through the second batch yesterday, I canceled cookie operations. I'll try again next week. So John got a half a cookie done. Shannon says, I want to go in the nuttier direction. I just tell my husband to stick his finger in the batter. Ain't going to get any nuttier than that. That's hysterical. Very, very funny across the board. And there you go. The key to the cookie and the key to the entrance is always the ingredients. When doing an oatmeal raisin cookie, start with the Quaker oats that are pure oats and the Sun-Maid raisin golden raisins, both pure ingredients. Then bring in your butters and your milk, not your non-fat milk, to bring in the element of decadence. And then, of course, also bring in your vanilla extract. Then from there, you can invent and bring it other directions. Lemon juice to bring in the citrus, some other juices that you may have around the home, or bring in the nutty direction. Meantime, stay on this channel and watch Afternoons LA coming up at 1 o'clock. This show will automatically take you there. Or if you're watching this on evenings, home and stream stimulus, Evenings Extra is up next. We'll have the latest update on your stimulus. As Joe Biden says, he wants those checks to go out as soon as possible. Those details and more are coming up. I'm excited you're here. And the shows continue throughout the day and the night. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful day. I hope the weather is good where you are as certain parts of the country start to warm up finally. But also watch that oven because the cooking process will be different as the climate changes in different parts of the country throughout the next few weeks. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful day and stay with LA for more.